Hello everyone and welcome. This is Potter Paradox speaking. We have handpicked a wonderful story for today. What if Harry forced Dumbledore to drink Veritaserum at his trial? Dumbledore bashing. New videos drop regularly, so subscribe and hit the bell to stay updated. And don't forget to like if you enjoy the story. Shall we begin? Here goes. Chapter 1, The Paper Trail. Harry slammed the door to Sirius's bedroom, his magic crackling around him like electricity. 2 weeks since the Department of Mysteries. 2 weeks since watching Sirius fall through that veil. And what was Dumbledore's grand solution? Ship him back to the Dursleys for another summer of misery. Not bloody likely, Harry muttered, kicking at a pile of discarded robes. He'd convinced the Order to let him stay at Grimmauld Place for a few days to process his grief before returning to Privet Drive. In reality, Harry needed answers. Dumbledore had finally revealed the prophecy, after 5 years of secrets and after it had cost Sirius his life. What else was the old man hiding? Harry began tearing through Sirius's belongings, not entirely sure what he was looking for. His godfather had been the only adult who treated him like an equal, who promised him a home. There had to be something here, some clue to why his life kept circling back to tragedy. Behind a loose floorboard under the bed, his fingers brushed against leather. Harry pulled out a worn portfolio filled with parchments. Financial statements from Gringotts, letters, legal documents. His heart stopped when he spotted his parents' names. What the hell? The first document was a summary of the Potter estate, far larger than Harry had ever imagined. Properties in multiple countries. Investment portfolios. Family heirlooms. And most importantly, a record of withdrawals authorized by one Albus Dumbledore as magical guardian. Thousands of galleons, every year since his parents' deaths. Where had that money gone? Certainly not to him or the Dursleys. Harry? You okay in there? Hermione called through the door. Get in here, Harry said, voice tight with barely controlled fury. And grab Ron. Minutes later, his two best friends sat beside him on the dusty floor, surrounded by financial records. This can't be legal, Hermione whispered, scanning a withdrawal receipt. He's been taking money from your family vault since 1981. Ron's face had gone pale. These amounts. Harry, this is more than my dad makes in a year. Each withdrawal. And look at this. Harry thrust another document at them. My parents' will. Did you know Sirius wasn't their only choice for guardian? There was a whole list. McGonagall. The Longbottoms. Even your parents, Ron. Then why, blood protection, Harry spat. That's what he always says. But there's nothing here about me needing to stay with the Dursleys. Nothing. Hermione bit her lip. We need more information before jumping to conclusions. Harry's laugh was hollow. When has waiting for information ever worked out for us? No. I'm done being reactive. Tomorrow we're going to Gringotts. Sneaking out of Grimmauld Place proved surprisingly easy. The Order was stretched thin with Voldemort's return now public. Harry, Ron and Hermione simply waited until Tonks fell asleep during her watch shift, then slipped out through the kitchen flue. Diagon Alley was nearly deserted. Few shoppers hurried between stores, nobody lingering in the open. The tension in the air was palpable. Voldemort's return had transformed the once vibrant shopping district into a place of fear. Heads down, Harry muttered as they approached Gringotts. Last thing we need is someone reporting back to Dumbledore. The Goblin Bank stood imposing as ever, white marble gleaming in the morning sun. Inside, Harry approached the nearest teller. I need to speak to someone about my accounts. The goblin barely glanced up. Key. That's part of the problem. I've only ever had access to my trust vault. I've recently discovered there may be irregularities with my family accounts. That got the goblin's attention. His beady eyes narrowed. Name? Harry Potter. A flicker of something, recognition, interest, possibly greed, crossed the goblin's face. Wait here. 10 minutes later, they were ushered into a lavish office where an older goblin with a scar running down his face sat behind a massive desk. Mr. Potter. I am Nagnok, Potter Account Manager. We have been attempting to contact you for years. Harry stiffened. What do you mean? I've never received any communications from Gringotts. Curious. Nagnok pulled a thick folder from a drawer. We've sent quarterly statements since you turned 11. All returned as recipient unavailable or redirected to magical guardian. Dumbledore, Ron muttered. Indeed. The goblin's smile revealed pointed teeth. Your magical guardian has been most active in managing your accounts. I want to see everything, Harry said. And I want to know what rights I have. Nagnok slid a crystal across the desk. Place 3 drops of blood here for identity confirmation. Harry didn't hesitate. The crystal glowed gold, then red, then an angry purple. Most interesting, Nagnok murmured. There appear to be blocks on your magic and several compulsion charms. What? Harry, Ron and Hermione exclaimed together. Goblins can detect such things through blood magic. The Ministry conveniently outlaws this practice for wizards. The goblin's expression turned calculating. For a fee, we could remove these impediments. Do it, Harry said immediately. Harry. Hermione grabbed his arm. We don't know, I know enough. He turned to Nagnok. What's your fee? 5,000 galleons. Done. An hour later, Harry emerged from a ritual chamber feeling like he'd shed a heavy cloak he hadn't known he was wearing. Colors seemed brighter. Magic flowed more freely through him. And the constant background anxiety he'd always attributed to the Dursleys' treatment had vanished. The compulsions were keyed to specific people, Nagnok explained as they returned to his office. Distrust of Slytherins. Excessive trust in Albus Dumbledore. Reluctance to question authority figures except when specifically guided. Attachment to certain individuals. Aversion to libraries and extensive reading. Hermione gasped. That's why you and Ron always fought me on research. Ron looked sick. Were there any on me? Nagnok examined him briefly. Yes. Similar patterns, though less extensive. Can you remove them? Ron asked, suddenly pale. For a fee. Harry didn't hesitate. Do it. My treat. While Ron underwent the ritual, Hermione pored over the financial records with Harry. Monthly payments to the Dursleys, substantial ones, she noted. And look, payments to my parents too. What? Harry leaned over. Sure enough, there were regular transfers to Granger residence. Hermione's hands shook. My parents never mentioned, they wouldn't take money to be your friend. They couldn't. Maybe they didn't know, Harry suggested. The money's coming from Dumbledore, not directly from my vault. Annual donations to the Weasley Family Fund, Hermione continued, voice hollow. Payments to Professor Lupin labeled, containment stipend. Even payments to the Dursleys specifically marked, discipline incentive. Harry felt his magic surge dangerously. He paid them to mistreat me. We need to talk to them, Hermione said decisively. The Dursleys? They'll never admit, not without proper motivation. When Ron returned, looking as shell-shocked as Harry had felt, they finalized their business with Nagnok. I want to claim headship of House Potter, Harry announced. I know I'm not 17, but given the circumstances. Emancipation is possible, the Goblin said. With evidence of Guardian malfeasance and the contested re-emergence of the Dark Lord, we could petition for accelerated adulthood. How long? Normally months. With sufficient incentive, perhaps days. Harry nodded. Start the process. And freeze all withdrawals not made by me personally. As you wish, Mr. Potter. Nagnock smiled, revealing pointed teeth. The wheels are already in motion. Number 4 Privet Drive looked exactly the same, pristine lawn, gleaming windows, utterly ordinary. Harry felt his stomach knot as they approached under disillusionment charms. "Remember the plan," Hermione whispered. They waited until Vernon left for work and Dudley skulked off to terrorize neighborhood kids. Only Petunia remained, aggressively pruning roses in the front garden. Harry cancelled his disillusionment and stepped into view. "Hello, Aunt Petunia," she shrieked, pruning shears dropping to the ground. "What are you doing here? You're supposed to be with those freaks. We need to talk." Harry's voice was cold, controlled. "Inside. Now." Something in his expression must have alarmed her because she didn't argue, just hurried inside, glancing nervously at the neighbors' windows. In the living room, Ron and Hermione revealed themselves. Petunia's face contorted with disgust. "More freaks. I won't have it. Sit down." Harry didn't raise his voice, but power thrummed beneath his words. The compulsion blocks being removed had clearly unlocked more than just his decision-making abilities. Petunia sat. Hermione pulled out a small vial. "This is Veritaserum. Truth serum." "I won't, 3 drops voluntarily," Harry said, "or I summon ministry authorities to investigate the financial payments you've received for my care since 1981. Petunia's face drained of color. "Payments? What payments?" Harry paused, studying her. Her confusion seemed genuine. "You never received money for taking me in?" "Nothing. We've clothed you, fed you, housed you for 15 years without a penny of support." Harry and Hermione exchanged looks. "Someone's been intercepting the funds," Hermione murmured. "I still need answers," Harry said, turning back to Petunia. "The truth serum?" To his surprise, she nodded jerkily. "If it means you'll leave faster, fine." 3 drops on her tongue, and Petunia's face went slack. "Did Dumbledore ever pay you to take care of me?" Harry asked. "No." Her voice was flat, emotionless. "Did he instruct you on how to treat me?" "Yes." Said the boy must not grow arrogant. Must be kept from knowledge of magic until Hogwarts. Must return each summer to renew protections. Said harsh treatment would ensure the boy remained malleable. Harry's hands clenched into fists. "Were you ever under magical influence regarding how you treated me?" The old man cast spells when he visited. After, we always felt more resentful of the boy. More determined to stamp out the freakishness. Ron swore under his breath. "Last question," Harry said. "Would you have treated me differently without his influence?" A tear slid down Petunia's rigid face. "Yes. You have Lily's eyes." They left Petunia with a modified memory of a pleasant conversation about Harry's school progress. She wouldn't remember the truth serum or their questions, only that Harry had come by briefly with friends. "That manipulative old bastard," Ron fumed as they walked down Magnolia Crescent. "Mind-controlling muggles. It explains so much," Hermione said quietly. "The extremes of their behavior. The way they'd suddenly get worse after Dumbledore sent letters." Harry remained silent, processing. All these years, he'd believed the Dursleys' hatred was natural. To learn it had been magically amplified by the man who claimed to protect him. An owl swooped down, dropping a letter into Harry's hands before disappearing. "Ministry seal," he noted, breaking it open. "Official notice Mr. Potter, your presence is required at the Ministry of Magic on July 12 at 10 a.m. regarding formal testimony on the return of he who must not be named. As the primary witness to this event, your statement is essential to ongoing security preparations. Failure to appear may result in legal penalties. Cornelius Fudge, Minister for Magic." Hermione read over his shoulder. "They want your help now. After everything Fudge did last year." But Harry wasn't listening. A plan was forming, dangerous, audacious, but potentially devastating. This is perfect, he said slowly. A public hearing. The entire Wisengamot present. Press coverage. Ron's eyes widened. You're not thinking, Dumbledore will be there as Chief Warlock, Harry continued. All the key players in one room. It's incredibly risky, Hermione cautioned. So was facing Voldemort. So was the Triwizard Tournament. So was everything I've been forced into. Harry's expression hardened. But this time, I'm choosing the battlefield. Amelia Bones lived in a modest townhouse in magical London, protected by wards that would have deterred most visitors. Fortunately, Harry had brought Dobby. Harry Potter Sir calls Dobby. The excitable elf had appeared instantly when Harry spoke his name at Grimmauld Place. I need to get a message to Madame Bones without anyone knowing, Harry explained. Dobby's ears quivered with excitement. Dobby can be taking message past wizard wards. Elf magic different. Now they stood in Amelia Bones' study, having bypassed security that would stop most Death Eaters. Mr. Potter. The square-jawed witch didn't seem particularly surprised. Breaking into the home of the head of magical law enforcement is a bold move. I apologize for the dramatic entrance, Harry said. But what I have to share couldn't risk interception. Her eyes narrowed. Concerning you-know-who? Concerning Albus Dumbledore. For 30 minutes, Harry outlined his discoveries, the financial irregularities, the will violations, the compulsion charms, Petunia's testimony. He provided copies of key documents, memory vials of his Gringotts visit, and a written statement. Amelia's monocle nearly fell several times. When Harry finished, she sat in silence for a long moment. These are grave accusations against Britain's most respected wizard. They're facts, not accusations, Harry countered. And I plan to make them public at the ministry hearing. That would be explosive. I'm hoping for your support. Harry leaned forward. Not publicly, not yet. But I need legal precedent for compelling testimony under Veritaserum. You intend to force Albus Dumbledore to take truth serum before the Wisengamot? Her tone suggested Harry had lost his mind. Yes. Impossible. The Chief Warlock has immunity, unless formally accused of crimes against a noble house by its head. Harry smiled grimly. I filed for emancipation and Potter headship. Gringotts is expediting the process. Amelia stared, then let out a short laugh. I see Susan wasn't exaggerating about you. She stood, walking to a bookshelf. These precedents should help. Hendricks vs. Ministry, 1842. Selwyn Inheritance Dispute, 1923. And most relevantly, the Black Testimony of 1979. Thank you. I'm not doing this for you, Mr. Potter. If even half your evidence is legitimate, Albus has committed serious crimes. She fixed him with a stern look. But be careful. Cornered phoenixes still burn. The next week passed in a flurry of preparation. Harry, Ron and Hermione barely slept, dividing their time between legal research, magical practice, and strategic planning. The key is controlling the narrative, Hermione explained, surrounded by law books in the Black Library. Once you announce the accusation, Dumbledore will try to redirect or adjourn. That's where the press comes in, Ron said, surprising both of them with his political insight. Without Fudge's support, Dumbledore's been fighting a PR battle. He can't afford to look like he's avoiding questions. Harry nodded. Luna's father has agreed to attend. He'll print whatever we want. And I convinced Rita Skeeter to be there too, Hermione added. She still thinks I'm blackmailing her about being an unregistered animagus. We still need more, Harry said, frustrated. Legal precedent isn't enough. We need something Dumbledore can't wiggle out of. An ancient-looking owl tapped at the window, carrying a small package wrapped in brown paper. No return address. Scan it for curses, Hermione said immediately. Harry performed the detection spells they'd been practicing. Clean. He unwrapped it carefully. Inside lay a vial of clear liquid and a note written in unfamiliar handwriting: "Not all who work in mysteries are blind to injustice. 3 drops. Works even on the strongest occlumens. Some of us remember the prophecy's guardian." "Is that?" Ron whispered. "Veritaserum," Hermione confirmed. "But how would someone know what we're planning?" Harry examined the note again. "The prophecy's guardian. Sirius? Or your parents," Ron suggested. "Someone from the Department of Mysteries," Hermione reasoned. "Someone who knows about the prophecy and has access to regulated substances." Harry carefully placed the vial in his moleskin pouch. "Whoever it is, they've just given us the ace we needed." The night before the hearing, the Order finally noticed their preparations. "What are you 3 up to?" Remus asked, entering the library where they were reviewing final strategy. Harry gestured for Ron and Hermione to continue while he guided Remus to a quiet corner. "Just preparing for the ministry testimony tomorrow." "You seem awfully focused for a simple statement." Remus's eyes held concern. "Dumbledore says he'll handle most of it. You just need to confirm you know whose return." "And what else has Dumbledore told you?" Harry asked casually. "About my inheritance. My parents' will. The money you've been receiving labeled containment stipend." Remus froze. "What are you talking about?" "Tell me honestly," Harry pressed, "did you know Sirius wasn't the only option for my guardian? That my parents specifically listed alternatives to the Dursleys?" "That's impossible. James and Lily would never." Remus stopped, confusion clouding his features. "I was at the will reading. There were provisions for your care, but I can't quite remember the details." "Memory charm," Hermione said quietly, joining them. "Professor Lupin, when was the last time you questioned why a wealthy pure-blood family wouldn't have extensive inheritance plans?" Remus sank into a chair. "I've been getting monthly payments. Dumbledore said it was from a Hogwarts alumni fund for former students with my condition. It's been coming from my family vault," Harry said gently. "Along with payments to the Weasleys, the Dursleys, and the Grangers." "My parents never received money from wizards," Hermione insisted. "They would have told me." "Unless they didn't know," Remus muttered. "Memory charms, confundus charms. Albus is a master of subtle magic." "So you believe us?" Harry asked. Remus's eyes had a dangerous amber glow. "I want to see proof. But if what you're saying is true..." The werewolf took a deep breath. "James and Lily would never have wanted you with Petunia. Never." Harry shared a look with Hermione. "We're handling it tomorrow. Will you stand with us? Against Albus?" Remus looked torn. "He gave me chances no one else would." "And made sure you remained dependent on those chances," Harry pointed out. "When was the last time he helped you find actual employment instead of just handing you enough gold to survive?" The conflict in Remus's eyes was painful to watch. "I need to think." "But Harry, be careful tomorrow. Albus doesn't lose political battles." "He's never fought one against me," Harry said. After Remus left, Ron rejoined them. "That could have gone better. He's been under influence for 15 years, Hermione said. "We can't expect immediate conversion." "We don't need the whole order," Harry reminded them. "Just enough chaos to execute the plan." Later that night, an owl delivered Harry's official confirmation of emancipation and headship. The Potter ring gleamed on his finger, warm with family magic. "It's really happening," he whispered to himself, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow would change everything, either establishing his independence or making an enemy of the most powerful wizard in Britain. Sleep came fitfully, filled with dreams of veils and prophecies and twinkling blue eyes suddenly cold with fury. Chapter 2, the Veritaserum gambit. Harry straightened his formal robes, examining his reflection in the bathroom mirror at Grimmauld Place. The Potter Lordship ring glinted on his finger, a physical reminder of everything at stake today. "Ready?" Hermione asked from the doorway. She wore simple professional robes, hair pulled back in a practical bun. "As I'll ever be." Harry pocketed the vial of Veritaserum, its weight seemingly heavier than its actual size. Ron joined them, his second-hand formal robes freshly pressed. "Mum's getting suspicious. Keeps asking why we're dressed like we're heading to a Wisengamot session instead of a simple testimony." "Because we are," Harry said with a grim smile. "Just not the one she's expecting." They'd planned their exit carefully. The main order members were in the kitchen having breakfast. With Tonks on watch at the front door, their only option was the rarely used side entrance that led to a narrow alley. "Dobby!" Harry whispered. The house elf appeared with a pop. "Harry Potter sir is ready. Take us to the visitors' entrance of the ministry, please." Dobby's teleportation felt distinctly different from apparition, less squeezing, more sliding between spaces. Seconds later, they stood before the red telephone box that served as the ministry's public entrance. "Remember," Hermione said as they squeezed inside, "once we start this, there's no going back." "There was no going back the moment Dumbledore left me on the Dursleys' doorstep," Harry replied. The telephone box descended into the ministry atrium, which bustled with morning activity. Security had been tightened since Voldemort's confirmed return. Aurors patrolled in pairs, wands visible. Visitors underwent enhanced screening. "Wands, please," droned the security wizard. After their wands were registered, they headed toward the elevators. "Potter." Harry turned to see Lucius Malfoy striding toward them, somehow looking immaculate despite his recent Azkaban stint. Voldemort's influence had secured his early release, claiming imperious influence. "Fancy seeing you here," Malfoy drawled. "Come to grovel before the ministry that slandered you all last year?" Harry smiled, catching the older man off guard. "Actually, Lord Malfoy, I'm here for something much more interesting. You might want to attend, should be quite educational regarding how Dumbledore treats the families under his protection." Confusion flickered across Malfoy's aristocratic features. "What are you playing at, Potter?" "Just suggesting today might reveal why certain pureblood families found Dumbledore's policies so concerning." Harry kept his tone casual. "But I'm sure you have more important matters to attend." He walked away, leaving Malfoy staring after him. "What was that about?" Ron hissed. "Planting seeds," Harry replied. The more eyes watching, the harder for Dumbledore to control the situation. Courtroom 10 looked exactly as Harry remembered from his disciplinary hearing, cavernous, intimidating, designed to make the accused feel small. Today, however, it was packed. Ministry officials, Wisengamot members in plum robes, and a surprising number of reporters filled the gallery. "They're treating this like a spectacle," Hermione whispered. "Good," Harry said. "The bigger the audience, the better." They took seats in the witness area. Harry spotted Luna's father with his distinctive robes and spectrospecs. Rita Skeeter sat nearby, acid green quill already poised. Most importantly, Amelia Bones occupied her seat in the Wisengamot section, giving Harry a nearly imperceptible nod. At precisely 10 o'clock, the doors swung open. Albus Dumbledore entered in magnificent robes of deep purple, radiating grandfatherly authority. The crowd instinctively quieted. "Quite the turnout for a simple testimonial," Dumbledore remarked pleasantly, taking his position as chief warlock. Minister Fudge looked distinctly uncomfortable, mopping his brow with a handkerchief. Recent events had vindicated Harry and Dumbledore, leaving Fudge politically vulnerable. "Yes, well," he blustered, "the public has a right to know about you-know-who's return from primary sources." "Indeed." Dumbledore's eyes twinkled as he spotted Harry. "Shall we begin?" Fudge nodded. "This special session of the Wisengamot is called to order." We are gathered to hear testimony regarding the return of he who must not be named. Before we start, Harry called out, standing suddenly, I'd like to invoke my right as head of House Potter to address the Wisengamot. A murmur swept through the room. Dumbledore's twinkle dimmed slightly. Mr. Potter, this is highly irregular, Lord Potter, Harry corrected, holding up his hand to display the family ring. Dumbledore's composure slipped momentarily. When did you claim your headship? You're underage. I was emancipated yesterday on grounds of guardian malfeasance. Harry's voice carried clearly through the chamber. Which brings me to why I've requested to address this body. Fudge looked between Harry and Dumbledore, sensing opportunity in their obvious tension. The chair recognizes Lord Potter. Harry moved to the center of the floor, heart pounding but step steady. Honored members of the Wisengamot. I came here today prepared to testify about Voldemort's return. Gasps echoed at the name. However, recent discoveries have brought to light a more immediate threat to magical justice. Mr. Potter, Dumbledore began. As head of House Potter, Harry continued loudly, I formally accuse Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore of crimes against my noble house. The chamber erupted. Reporters scribbled frantically. Wisengamot members turned to each other in shock. Dumbledore stood, raising his hands for calm. Harry, my boy, I understand you've suffered greatly. Perhaps we should discuss these concerns privately. I demand testimony under Veritaserum, Harry declared. As is my right when accusing a person of crimes against my house. Preposterous. Fudge spluttered, though he couldn't hide his delight at Dumbledore's predicament. Amelia Bones rose. Actually, Minister, Lord Potter is invoking an ancient right. The Selwyn case of 1923 established precedent. I have evidence of theft from Potter vaults, Harry continued, pulling out a folder of documents. Violation of my parents' will. Illegal placement with abusive guardians. Unauthorized use of compulsion charms on a minor. And deliberate suppression of my heritage and responsibilities. He handed the folder to a court aide, who delivered it to Madame Bones. These are serious accusations, she said, reviewing the documents with a practiced eye. Lord Potter, you understand the gravity of calling for Veritaserum testimony? If your claims prove unfounded, you could face penalties. I'm well aware, Harry replied. I'm prepared to provide memories and financial records as preliminary evidence. Dumbledore's expression had grown grave. Harry, I've only ever acted in your best interest. That's what this testimony will determine, Harry replied coldly. Whether your idea of my best interest justifies criminal behavior. Whispers coursed through the courtroom. Augusta Longbottom, formidable in her vulture hat, leaned forward from her Wisengamot seat. I second Lord Potter's motion. The boy deserves answers. Dumbledore glanced around the chamber, clearly calculating his options. The use of Veritaserum on a sitting chief warlock is unprecedented. So was placing the boy who lived with Muggle abusers, came a voice from the gallery. Lucius Malfoy stood, looking supremely satisfied with the chaos. I support Lord Potter's request. If Dumbledore has nothing to hide. The political calculation was obvious. Malfoy saw an opportunity to undermine Dumbledore while appearing to support justice and pureblood rights. Fudge, sensing which way the wind was blowing, cleared his throat. Perhaps in the interest of transparency, Albus. Dumbledore's eyes had lost their twinkle entirely. I see a vote is necessary. Those in favor of compelling testimony? Hands rose throughout the chamber, some eager, others reluctant, many simply curious. Clearly a majority. Very well. Dumbledore's voice remained calm, but Harry detected the steel beneath. I shall submit to 3 questions under Veritaserum, as is traditional. Actually, Harry interrupted, given the scope of the accusations, I move for a full testimony session. Historical precedent allows for expanded questioning when multiple serious charges are involved. Amelia Bones nodded. The Black Testimony of 1979 established that right. Dumbledore's smile tightened. You seem remarkably well versed in obscure legal precedents, Harry. I've had excellent help, Harry replied, glancing at Hermione. After further procedural arguments and a formal vote, the Wizengamot approved a full testimonial session. An unspeakable was dispatched to retrieve ministry-certified Veritaserum. While we wait, Harry announced, I'd like to present preliminary evidence. A pensieve was brought forth. Harry placed a silvery memory strand inside. This is my visit to Gringotts, showing financial records of unauthorized withdrawals from the Potter family vault since November 1981. The memory played above the pensieve, visible to all, Harry and the Goblin reviewing statements showing regular withdrawals authorized by Albus Dumbledore, designated magical guardian. These funds, Harry explained, were allocated to various recipients, including a discipline incentive for my Muggle relatives. More gasps. Even those sympathetic to Dumbledore looked troubled. Next memory, Harry continued, placing another strand in the pensieve. My aunt under Veritaserum, explaining Dumbledore's instructions regarding my upbringing. Petunia's flat, truth-serum voice filled the chamber, said the boy must not grow arrogant. Must be kept from knowledge of magic until Hogwarts. Must return each summer to renew protections. Said harsh treatment would ensure the boy remained malleable. The memory shifted to show the cupboard under the stairs, Harry's bedroom, for 10 years. The locks on his door from later summers. The cat flap for pushing through meager food. Dumbledore sat impassive, though his fingers gripped the arms of his chair tightly. The unspeakable returned with Veritaserum just as Harry finished presenting his evidence. The hooded figure handed the vial to Amelia Bones, who verified its authenticity. Albus Dumbledore, she announced formally, you are required to submit to Veritaserum testimony regarding allegations of crimes against House Potter. Do you consent? Dumbledore rose with dignity. I maintain that my actions were necessary for the greater good. But I consent to this procedure. Harry discreetly touched his pocket where his own vial of Veritaserum sat. The Ministry's truth serum might be vulnerable to a clemency or prior antidote consumption. His backup would ensure the truth emerged. Dumbledore took the witness chair in the center of the chamber. Madame Bones administered 3 drops of the clear potion. His blue eyes grew slightly unfocused. State your name, she began. Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore. Your current positions. Headmaster of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Chief Warlock of the Wizengamot. Supreme Mugwump of the International Confederation of Wizards. Bones nodded. The Veritaserum appears effective. Lord Potter, you may begin your questioning. Harry stepped forward, pulse racing. Everything hinged on asking the right questions in the right order. Did you place me with the Dursleys after my parents' deaths? Yes. Were you aware my parents will specifically listed other guardians before Petunia Dursley? A flicker of resistance crossed Dumbledore's face. Yes. Murmurs spread through the courtroom. Why did you ignore their wishes? The blood protection through Lily's sacrifice could only be maintained through her sister. It was the safest option. Harry nodded. Did you ever check on my welfare at the Dursleys? I had monitors for your magical signature and life force. Arabella Figg provided periodic reports. Did those reports mention I was kept in a cupboard? Underfed? Made to do excessive chores? Punished for accidental magic? Dumbledore's mouth worked briefly, fighting the serum. Yes. The gallery erupted in outraged whispers. And you left me there. It was necessary for your development and the blood protection. Did you place compulsion charms on the Dursleys? Minor influence charms. To ensure they kept you and maintained the proper distance. Harry's anger threatened to overwhelm him. He forced himself to stick to the plan. Did you appoint yourself my magical guardian? Yes. By what authority? I sealed the Potter's will and had your guardianship assigned through the Wisengamot's emergency provisions during the post-war reconstruction. Augusta Longbottom stood suddenly. You never brought that before the full Wisengamot, Albus. A subset committee was sufficient under wartime protocols, Dumbledore replied tonelessly. Harry continued. Did you make withdrawals from my family vault? Yes. For what purpose? Various necessities. Stipends for your caregivers. Funding for Order of the Phoenix operations. Support for families allied with our cause. Did you have legal authority to use Potter funds for these purposes? Not explicitly. The courtroom grew increasingly tense. Harry could see horror on some faces, calculation on others. Did you place compulsion charms on me personally? Dumbledore struggled visibly against the serum. Necessary, guidance, charms. What did these charms do? Encouraged trust in specific authority figures. Discouraged excessive academic curiosity. Promoted house rivalries. Reinforced certain friendships. Discouraged questioning your living situation. Hermione gasped audibly from her seat. Why? Harry demanded, his voice rising. Why manipulate my development this way? The prophecy. Dumbledore began, then fought against revealing more. Amelia Bones leaned forward. The Veritaserum appears to be weakening. Perhaps due to the subject's exceptional occlumency abilities. Harry had anticipated this. He approached the witness chair. I request a reapplication of Veritaserum to complete the testimony. I believe we've heard quite enough, Dumbledore said, his voice regaining its normal cadence. These selective questions paint an incomplete picture. 3 more drops, Harry insisted. The court will recess for 30 minutes while we consider this request, Fudge announced, looking both disturbed and delighted by the revelations. As the gallery erupted in conversation, Harry caught Hermione's eye and nodded slightly. Phase 1 complete. But the most dangerous revelations were still to come. The antechamber behind the courtroom buzzed with tension. Harry found himself surrounded immediately. What the bloody hell do you think you're doing? Demanded Molly Weasley, face flushed with anger. Attacking Albus like this. Molly, Arthur said quietly, did you hear what was revealed? The compulsion charms. The will violations. He must have had reasons. Good reasons. Like the reason he's been sending money to our family without telling us? Arthur asked. His normally gentle face looked strained. Ron told me this morning. I checked with Gringotts. It's true. Molly faltered. What money? Monthly stipends from the Potter Vault, Harry explained. Did you ever wonder why Dumbledore took such an interest in your family? Why he connected you to me before my first year? Before Molly could respond, McGonagall approached, her face ashen. Mr. Potter. Is it true? The cupboard? The abuse? Harry met her gaze steadily. You were there the night he left me, Professor. You objected to the Dursleys then. I did. Her voice wavered. But Albus assured me there would be monitoring, protection. There was monitoring, Harry said bitterly. He just didn't care what was happening as long as I stayed alive and, what was the word? Malleable. McGonagall's nostrils flared. I want to see those financial records myself. Of course. Harry nodded to Hermione, who handed over a copy of the documents. As McGonagall reviewed them, her expression grew increasingly thunderous. Discipline incentive? Student control initiatives? What is the meaning of this? That's what we're trying to find out, Harry said. The door opened, and Remus entered, accompanied by Tonks. Both looked grim. We caught the order meeting in emergency session, Tonks reported. Split right down the middle, half thinking you've gone dark, half demanding answers from Dumbledore. And you? Harry asked. I'm an Auror first, Tonks said firmly. These allegations warrant investigation. Remus stepped forward. I've been a fool, Harry. A dependent, grateful fool. His hands shook. James and Lily would never have wanted this for you. Before Harry could respond, Rita Skeeter somehow materialized beside them, quill poised. Lord Potter. Care to comment on Dumbledore's shocking testimony? Any response to rumors you're building a political coalition against the Chief Warlock? No comment yet, Harry replied. The full testimony will speak for itself. And the timing? With you-know-who's return confirmed, why challenge Dumbledore now? Harry met her gaze. Because defeating Voldemort doesn't require sacrificing justice or truth. That's his approach, not mine. The quill scribbled excitedly. Suddenly, Hermione grabbed Harry's arm. Something's wrong. Dumbledore's missing from the main chamber. Harry glanced around. And Snape isn't here either. They could be planning something, Ron warned. Or Dumbledore could be gathering evidence to counter your claims, McGonagall suggested. Harry turned to Tonks. Can you find out where they went? On it. She morphed her features to resemble a nondescript ministry worker and slipped out. Harry took the opportunity to check the Veritaserum vial in his pocket. Still secure. He'd need to ensure it was used in the next session, not the potentially compromised ministry supply. The door burst open, and an unfamiliar wizard in aura robes entered. Lord Potter. Urgent message from Director Bones. Harry approached cautiously, wand hand ready. Yes. The aura moved with blinding speed, withdrawing not a message but a wand. Avada, Protego. Multiple voices shouted at once. Harry, Ron, Hermione, and Remus had all cast shields simultaneously. The killing curse smashed against the layered shields, dissipating in a shower of green sparks. The false aura spun to flee but found McGonagall blocking his path, wand raised. I think not, she said coldly. Her spell hit him squarely in the chest, transforming the would-be assassin into a small tortoise. Real auras flooded the room moments later, securing the transfigured attacker. Death Eater? Harry asked. Possibly, Shacklebolt said, examining the tortoise. Or someone with other motives for stopping this testimony. Harry and Hermione exchanged significant looks. The attempt confirmed they were on the right track, and that someone was desperate to prevent further revelations. Tonks returned, breathless. Dumbledore and Snape were in Fudge's office. Seemed to be arguing about something. Snape left through the flue. We need to get back to the courtroom, Harry said urgently. Before anything else happens. As they moved toward the door, McGonagall touched Harry's shoulder. Whatever happens next, Potter, know that I. She paused, visibly struggling with emotion. I failed you. We all did. There's still time to make it right, Harry replied. The courtroom had filled even further during the recess. Word of the dramatic testimony had spread, drawing more spectators. Harry noticed several Hogwarts professors had appeared, along with additional reporters. Most significantly, Dumbledore's chair remained empty. Where is he? Hermione whispered. Attempting to regain control, Harry replied. But he can't just vanish during formal testimony. Fudge called the session to order, looking flustered. Due to an incident during the recess, we have heightened security. Additionally, Chief Warlock Dumbledore has requested a delay in proceedings. On what grounds? Harry demanded, standing. He claims the need to gather exonerating evidence regarding your accusations. That's not how Veritaserum testimony works, Harry countered. The whole point is direct truth, not prepared defenses. Amelia Bones stood. Minister, precedent is clear. Once Veritaserum testimony begins, it must be completed before the subject can present counter-evidence. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the Wizengamot. Despite many members' personal loyalty to Dumbledore, the procedural violation was obvious. The chamber doors swung open. Dumbledore entered, followed by Snape. The headmaster looked composed once more, though his eyes lacked their usual twinkle. "My apologies for the delay," he announced. "I believe we were discussing the appropriate amount of Veritaserum for continuing testimony." "We were," Fudge agreed. "Given concerns about potential resistance to standard dosing, I have a solution," Harry interrupted. He withdrew his vial of Veritaserum. "This is certified truth serum from the Department of Mysteries itself. 3 drops guaranteed effective against any occlumency resistance." Dumbledore's eyes widened slightly. "A serious accusation, Harry, suggesting I might be resisting standard truth serum." "Not an accusation," Harry replied. "An observation from the court record. Madam Bones noted the standard dose appeared to be weakening prematurely." Snape stepped forward. "As a potions master, I must object. Unregistered truth serum could be tampered with." "Then test it," Harry challenged. "But the alternative is a double dose of Ministry serum, which would be more dangerous for Professor Dumbledore's health." Trapped between options, Dumbledore nodded graciously. "I have nothing to hide. Test the serum and proceed." An unspeakable came forward, performing a complex series of diagnostic spells on Harry's vial. "Pure Veritaserum. Unusually potent." "Very well," Dumbledore said, taking the witness chair again. "Let us continue this exercise." 3 drops of the mysterious Veritaserum fell on his tongue. This time, the effect was immediate and profound. Dumbledore's eyes glazed completely, his posture slackening. "State your name," Amelia began again. "Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore." The voice was flatter, more mechanical than before. "Are you currently under the influence of any potion, spell, or device intended to counteract Veritaserum?" "No." The answer came without hesitation. Bones nodded to Harry. "Lord Potter, you may continue your questioning." Harry stepped forward. The most crucial phase was beginning. "You mentioned a prophecy earlier. What prophecy were you referring to?" "The prophecy made by Sybil Trelawney to me shortly before Harry Potter's birth. The one with the power to vanquish the Dark Lord approaches, born to those who have thrice defied him, born as the 7th month dies, and the Dark Lord will mark him as his equal, but he will have power the Dark Lord knows not, and either must die at the hand of the other, for neither can live while the other survives." The chamber fell deadly silent. "Was this prophecy the reason Voldemort targeted my family?" "Yes." Severus Snape overheard the first part and reported it to Voldemort. All eyes turned to Snape, who had gone rigid in his seat. "Snape betrayed my parents to Voldemort?" Harry's voice shook with barely controlled fury. "He did not know it referred to your family when he reported it. When he learned Voldemort had targeted the Potters, he came to me, begging me to protect Lily Potter, whom he had loved since childhood." Gasps and whispers swept the room. Snape looked like he might either attack or flee at any moment. Harry forced himself back on track. "How does this prophecy relate to your treatment of me?" "The prophecy dictates that only Harry can defeat Voldemort. But I discovered another layer of connection. When Voldemort attacked Harry as a baby, a piece of his soul broke off and attached to Harry. Harry Potter is, unknowingly, a Horcrux." The term meant nothing to most in attendance, but several elder Wisengamot members recoiled in horror. "What is a Horcrux?" Harry demanded. "A container for a soul fragment, created through murder. Voldemort split his soul multiple times to achieve immortality. As long as his Horcruxes exist, he cannot truly die. And I'm one of these." "Horcruxes?" "Yes. Which is why I've had to carefully guide your development. You must willingly sacrifice yourself to Voldemort to destroy the soul fragment within you." The courtroom erupted in chaos. Harry stood frozen, the truth he'd suspected now confirmed in the worst possible way. "Silence!" Bones thundered, restoring order. "Lord Potter, continue. Harry swallowed hard. Let me understand this clearly. Your plan has always been for me to die. To walk willingly to death, yes. Only then can Voldemort himself be killed by others. And all the manipulations, the Dursleys, the compulsion charms, keeping me in the dark, this was to ensure I'd sacrifice myself when the time came? Yes. I needed to shape you into someone who would make that sacrifice willingly. Too much comfort, too much knowledge too soon, too much sense of self-worth might have interfered with that necessary end. Harry heard Hermione sobbing quietly behind him. Ron was swearing under his breath. Are there ways to remove a Horcrux without killing the host? Dumbledore hesitated, fighting the serum. Theoretical possibilities exist. Ancient rituals. Goblin methods. But risky, unreliable. But you never investigated these options for me? The prophecy seemed clear. Sacrifice was cleanest solution. Harry took a deep breath. How many other Horcruxes exist, and what are they? The diary, already destroyed by Harry. A ring, which I recently found and destroyed, though it cursed me in the process. I have perhaps a year to live. I believe Voldemort created 6 deliberately: the diary, the ring, a locket, a cup, something of Ravenclaw's, and his snake Nagini. Harry was an accidental 7th. The courtroom remained deathly quiet, absorbing these revelations. All this time, Harry said, his voice carrying in the silence, you've known about these objects. You've known how to defeat Voldemort. Yet you've shared this information with no one. I couldn't risk Voldemort discovering our knowledge of his Horcruxes. Secrecy was essential. Even at the cost of lives that could have been saved if we'd hunted these objects years ago. Yes. The greater good required patience and sacrifice. Harry turned to face the Wizengamot directly. Members of the Wizengamot, you've heard testimony confirming that Albus Dumbledore knowingly placed me with abusive guardians, violated my parents' will, stole from my family vaults, placed illegal compulsion charms on me and others, and concealed vital information about defeating Voldemort, all while planning for me to die at the proper moment. He turned back to Dumbledore. One final question. Do you regret any of these actions? Dumbledore's face showed the first hint of emotion under the serum. I regret they were necessary. But I would do it all again for the greater good. No further questions, Harry said quietly. The antidote was administered. As Dumbledore regained his faculties, he surveyed the room, seeing the horror, the shock, the betrayal on countless faces. You must understand, he began, voice regaining its usual calm authority. These measures, while regrettable, save it, Amelia Bones interrupted. Albus Dumbledore, based on your testimony under Veritaserum, this body will now vote on immediate sanctions pending full investigation. Sanctions? Dumbledore looked genuinely surprised. For doing what was necessary to defeat the greatest Dark Lord of our time. For crimes against House Potter, Augusta Longbottom declared. For illegal use of compulsion charms. For theft from a noble house. For child endangerment. For violation of guardianship laws. The vote was swift and overwhelming. Even many of Dumbledore's longtime supporters couldn't defend his actions in the face of such testimony. Albus Dumbledore, Fudge announced, visibly enjoying the moment, you are hereby suspended from your positions as Chief Warlock and Supreme Mugwump pending full investigation. Your position as Headmaster will be reviewed by the Board of Governors. And the Horcruxes? Harry asked loudly. What about the information on defeating Voldemort? A task force will be assembled immediately, Amelia Bones declared. With your cooperation, Lord Potter, as you are directly affected. As Aurors approached to escort Dumbledore from the chamber, the old wizard fixed his gaze on Harry. I hope you understand what you've done today, Harry. The carefully laid plans of decades, your plans, Harry interrupted. Not mine. Not my parents. Not what they died for. And when you face the choice the prophecy demands. "I'll find another way," Harry replied firmly. "One that doesn't treat people like pawns." As Dumbledore was led away, the chamber burst into frantic discussion. Harry found himself surrounded by reporters, Wisengamot members, and concerned citizens, all demanding more information, offering support, or expressing outrage. Through the crowd, Harry spotted Snape slipping toward a side exit. Their eyes met briefly. The potions master's face showed something Harry had never seen before: uncertainty. "Harry." Hermione squeezed his arm. "Are you okay?" He took a deep breath. "No. But I will be." Ron clapped his shoulder. "What now, mate?" "Now," Harry said, looking around at the chaos they'd unleashed, "we build something better." Chapter 3, Forging a New Path. Harry stood in the eye of a political hurricane. Ministry officials rushed around him, reporters shouted questions, and ordinary witches and wizards craned their necks to glimpse the young man who just toppled Albus Dumbledore from his pedestals of power. "Lord Potter. What's your plan for the Horcruxes? Will you lead the fight against you-know-who now? Did you know you were a Horcrux before today? Are you planning to sacrifice yourself as Dumbledore intended?" The questions hammered him from all directions. Harry raised his hand, and surprisingly, the crowd quieted. "I'll answer questions soon," he said firmly. "Right now, we need to focus on immediate security. Voldemort just lost his greatest advantage, our ignorance of his immortality method." Amelia Bones pushed through the crowd. "Lord Potter is right. This is now classified intelligence. All reporters are ordered to withhold specific details about Horcruxes from publication pending national security review." Rita Skeeter looked mutinous. "The public has a right to know, the public has a right not to have Voldemort alerted that we're hunting his soul containers," Harry countered. "You can report on Dumbledore's crimes without compromising our only strategic advantage." Skeeter's eyes gleamed. "A compromise, then. Exclusive interview on your plans moving forward, without the forbidden details." "Fine. Tomorrow." Amelia guided Harry, Ron, and Hermione toward a side chamber. "Clever move with the press," she said quietly. "We need to talk, securely." The chamber turned out to be a small conference room with heavy privacy wards. Already waiting inside were Kingsley Shacklebolt, Mad-Eye Moody, Professor McGonagall, Bill Weasley, and surprisingly, Neville Longbottom with his grandmother. "Gran insisted we stay," Neville explained, looking both nervous and determined. "Said things were finally getting interesting." Augusta Longbottom sniffed. "When a Potter publicly challenges a Dumbledore, only a fool would leave the room." Amelia sealed the door. "We have perhaps 30 minutes before the minister barges in demanding to control the Horcrux hunt. We need a plan. First," Harry said, "we need to verify what Dumbledore said. About me." He couldn't quite bring himself to say, "Horcrux," again. Bill Weasley stepped forward. "I've been working with curse-breaking teams in Egypt. We've encountered soul magic before, never anything like a human Horcrux, but similar principles. Can you check if it's true?" Harry asked, struggling to keep his voice steady. "I know a diagnostic spell. Won't hurt, but might feel strange." Harry nodded. "Do it." Bill drew his wand, muttering in what sounded like ancient Egyptian. Complex symbols appeared in the air around Harry's head, concentrating particularly around his scar. Most glowed blue or green, but one pulsed an angry red. "Merlin's balls," Bill whispered. "It's true. There's a soul fragment tethered to your scar." Harry's knees nearly buckled. Despite suspecting it, hearing confirmation hit hard. "So I really do have to die?" His voice sounded distant to his own ears. "Fuck that noise," Ron said vehemently. "Dumbledore said there were other methods." "He did," Hermione agreed, her analytical mind already racing. "He mentioned goblin methods and ancient rituals." "Goblins," Bill mused. "They have soul magic far beyond what wizards practice. Part of why they're so effective with curses. Could they remove it? Harry asked, hope flickering. Possibly. They're not exactly fond of wizards these days, but... Bill gestured to Harry's lordship ring. You've established yourself as a friend to their interests. Might give us leverage. McGonagall cleared her throat. Before we address Mr. Potter's situation, we need to secure the information Albus revealed. The other Horcruxes. He mentioned a locket, a cup, something of Ravenclaw's, and Voldemort's snake, Hermione recited. Plus the diary that Harry already destroyed and a ring Dumbledore found. The ring that's killing him, Harry added grimly. He said he has about a year left. Moody grunted. Serves the manipulative old goat right. Keeping secrets like this while people died. Alastair. McGonagall looked shocked. Don't Alastair me, Minerva. You heard what he admitted under Veritaserum. Raising the boy like a pig for slaughter. Using compulsion charms on children. That's not the Dumbledore I thought I was following. None of us knew, Kingsley said quietly. That's the point. He compartmentalized everything. Kept us all in the dark. Well, I'm done with darkness, Harry declared. From now on, everyone involved knows everything. No more secrets, no more need-to-know basis. Augusta Longbottom nodded approvingly. A proper leader shares information with their lieutenants. I don't want to be anyone's leader, tough luck, Potter, Moody interrupted. You just publicly challenged Dumbledore, exposed Voldemort's secret to immortality, and have the prophecy hanging over your head. You're the leader whether you want it or not. Harry looked around the room, seeing expectant faces. Fine. But we do this as a council, not a dictatorship. Everyone gets input. First order of business, Amelia said. Securing the remaining Horcruxes. I know where one might be, Harry realized suddenly. Sirius once mentioned a heavy locket no one could open when we were cleaning Grimmauld Place. Could that be Slytherin's locket? Creature would know, Ron suggested. Harry nodded. Creature. Nothing happened. Black family house elf, Harry explained to the confused faces. He should answer my call since I'm Sirius's heir. You need to claim the Black inheritance formally, Bill explained. Sirius was named Lord Black while in Azkaban, but never properly claimed it after his escape. As his godson and named heir, you can petition for immediate inheritance. 2 lordships. Harry raised an eyebrow. More political leverage, Augusta noted pragmatically. A knock interrupted them. Minister Fudge entered without waiting for a response, flanked by Percy Weasley and Dolores Umbridge. Ah, Director Bones. I see you've already assembled a team. Fudge smiled insincerely. The Ministry will of course take the lead on this Horcrux situation, the Ministry will support the effort, Harry corrected. But this operation requires expertise in curse-breaking, dark magic detection, and tactical operations, not bureaucratic oversight. Fudge blustered. Now see here, Potter, Lord Potter, Augusta corrected sharply. Addressing him properly would be a good start to this partnership, Minister. Umbridge stepped forward, her sugary voice grating on Harry's nerves. Perhaps the young man doesn't appreciate the Ministry's resources. We have unspeakables, horrors, and a track record of Death Eater infiltration, Harry interrupted. No offense, Director Bones, he added. None taken, Amelia replied dryly. He's not wrong. Fudge mopped his brow. You can't possibly run this operation without Ministry support. Actually, Harry said, I can. The Horcrux hunt falls under 2 categories, a Potter family matter, given my personal connection, and a Black family matter, as I'm about to claim that lordship as well. Both families have private resources that don't require Ministry approval. Percy looked scandalized. That's circumventing proper governmental channels. That's protecting operational security, Moody growled. Something the Ministry's been bloody terrible at lately. Fudge recognized a losing battle. A compromise, then. Joint operation. Ministry provides resources and legal backing. Lord Potter's team handles the field operations. Harry glanced at Amelia, who gave a slight nod. Acceptable. With one condition, all personnel are vetted with Veritaserum. Preposterous. Umbridge exclaimed. Non-negotiable, Harry replied firmly. We just learned Dumbledore's been manipulating events for decades. I won't risk Voldemort having similar access. After more haggling, Fudge reluctantly agreed. As the minister and his entourage left, Harry turned back to the core group. We need a headquarters. Somewhere secure. What about Grimmauld Place? Ron suggested. Harry shook his head. Too many Order members have access. And Dumbledore's still secret keeper. Potter Manor, McGonagall said suddenly. Your family's ancestral home. It was placed under stasis charms after your grandparents died, but never destroyed. Harry stared at her. I have a family manor. Another detail Dumbledore conveniently forgot to mention, Moody muttered. Where is it? Harry asked. Wales. Unplottable location, but accessible to those given permission by the family head. I need to claim the Black Lordship and visit Gringotts again, Harry decided. Then we inspect Potter Manor. Augusta Longbottom stood. I'll rally allied families. The Longbottoms stand with House Potter, as we have for centuries. As do the Bones, Amelia added. The Order members will need guidance, McGonagall noted. Many are in shock after Dumbledore's revelations. We'll meet at the new headquarters tomorrow, Harry decided. Everyone who wants to continue fighting Voldemort is welcome, after Veritaserum screening. As the meeting broke up, Ron pulled Harry aside. You okay, mate? Finding out you're you know. Honestly? No. But sitting around feeling sorry for myself won't help. Hermione joined them. We'll find a way to remove it without you dying, Harry. I promise. Harry managed a smile. If anyone can find it, it's you. Gringotts looked different this time. Word had apparently spread among the goblins about Harry's revelations. They watched him with new interest as he approached the main desk. Lord Potter, the teller acknowledged, without Harry having to identify himself. Director Ragnarok will see you. Director? Harry whispered to Bill, who had accompanied them. Not just an account manager. The head of Gringotts, Bill confirmed. This is unprecedented. They were ushered into an office far grander than Nagnok's. Director Ragnarok, an ancient goblin with steel-gray hair and calculating eyes, examined Harry with open curiosity. The wizard who publicly exposes one of his own kind for financial crimes against another wizard, Ragnarok observed. Most unusual. Justice shouldn't have exceptions, Harry replied. Ragnarok's lips curled in what might have been a smile. Indeed not. I understand you wish to claim the Black Lordship. Yes, and to discuss something more delicate. The claiming ritual was relatively simple. A blood test confirmed Harry's status as Sirius's named heir, and the Black family ring materialized, settling on his finger alongside the Potter ring. Two ancient and noble houses, Ragnarok noted. Significant political power. Now, this delicate matter. Harry glanced at Bill, who nodded encouragingly. I need help removing a soul fragment that was accidentally embedded in my scar. Ragnarok went very still. A Horcrux. You know about them? Goblins have battled such abominations for centuries. Human wizards think they invented the concept, typical arrogance. Soul magic existed long before wand wavers. Hope surged in Harry's chest. Can you remove it without killing me? Ragnarok studied him intently. Possibly. For any other wizard, I would refuse simply on principle. But you. He drummed his fingers on the desk. You have proven unusual for your kind. I'll pay whatever price. Gold is not the issue here, Lord Potterblack. The procedure is dangerous, taxing, and requires significant preparation. And there would be conditions. What conditions? First, Gringotts' role must remain confidential. We cannot appear to be taking sides in wizard conflicts. Harry nodded. Understood. Second, we require certain concessions regarding goblin artifacts currently in wizard possession. The goblin-made items in my vaults are yours to reclaim, Harry offered immediately. Ragnar's eyebrows rose. Just like that? They're your cultural heritage. Keeping them just because my ancestors had the gold to buy them seems wrong. Bill looked alarmed at Harry's casual diplomacy, but Ragnar actually laughed, a harsh, grating sound. Most interesting, Lord Potterblack. Third condition, we require your assistance with a related matter. Which is? We believe another Horcrux may be stored in one of our high-security vaults. By treaty, we cannot access clients' vaults without cause, but with evidence provided by you. Harry leaned forward. Which vault? The Lestrange vault. Bellatrix Lestrange. Harry's voice hardened. The woman who killed Sirius. The same. We have detected dark soul magic emanating from her vault since 1981, but lacked legal grounds to investigate. As Lord Black, I can authorize it, Harry realized. Bellatrix was born a Black. I could invoke family magic to audit any dowry items. Ragnar smiled, revealing pointed teeth. Precisely. Do we have an agreement? Yes. When can you remove the soul fragment? The ritual requires the dark of the moon. 7 days from now. And the Lestrange vault? We can inspect it immediately. An hour later, they emerged from the depths of Gringotts with Hufflepuff's cup, confirmed as a Horcrux by goblin magic and carefully contained in a lead-lined box. One down, Harry said grimly. 4 to go. Potter Manor exceeded all expectations. Hidden in a remote Welsh valley, the sprawling stone manor house sat on extensive grounds protected by ancient wards. Unlike the dark, oppressive atmosphere of Grimmauld Place, Potter Manor felt welcoming, as if the house itself recognized Harry's return. The wards accepted you instantly, Bill noted as they explored. They recognize your magic as the Potter heir. The manor had been preserved in perfect condition by stasis charms. Family portraits, none of his parents, Harry noted with disappointment, greeted him with surprise and delight. House elves, maintained in magical stasis, awakened upon his arrival, overjoyed to serve the young master after 15 years. Master Harry has come home, squeaked the oldest elf, Penny. We has waited so long. This place is brilliant, Ron said, staring at the massive great hall with its enchanted ceiling reminiscent of Hogwarts. Why didn't Dumbledore bring you here instead of the Dursleys? Because here I would have grown up knowing my heritage, my rights, and my place in the magical world, Harry replied, bitterness creeping into his voice. Can't have the sacrificial lamb getting ideas about self-worth. This will serve perfectly as headquarters, Hermione said, eyeing the extensive library with barely concealed excitement. Plenty of space for everyone, defensive wards already in place, and no Dumbledore as secret keeper, Harry finished. I've already decided who will hold that position. Who? Ron asked. Harry smiled. Dobby. As if summoned by his name, the excitable elf popped into existence. Harry Potter, sir, called Dobby. Harry knelt to be at eye level with the elf. Dobby, I need someone I can trust completely to become the secret keeper for this location. Would you accept that responsibility? Dobby's enormous eyes filled with tears. Harry Potter, sir, trusts Dobby with such important magic. Dobby is honored beyond all dreaming. The Fidelius charm was recast that evening, with Bill Weasley performing the complex spell. Harry had authorized access for their core group, with Dobby as secret keeper, a choice that baffled many but made perfect strategic sense. No one would expect an elf, and Dobby's unique magic made him resistant to many forms of magical coercion. By nightfall, Potter Manor buzzed with activity. Order members who had passed Veritaserum screening arrived in waves. The Weasleys set up in a family wing. Remus claimed a cottage on the grounds. Hermione established command central in the library with help from McGonagall and Flitwick. Harry watched it all from the manor's highest tower, feeling oddly detached. "Quite the operation you've launched in one day," came a gruff voice behind him. Harry turned to see Moody stumping onto the balcony. "Not really my doing. Everyone just needed direction. That's what leadership is, Potter. Not doing everything yourself, knowing how to use people's strengths. Is that what Dumbledore did? Used our strengths?" Moody snorted. "Dumbledore played chess. You're building an army. There's a difference. I don't want followers." "Good. Followers are useless in a real fight. You want allies, people fighting alongside you, not behind you." Moody's magical eyes spun wildly. "Speaking of fights, we've got incoming intelligence. Death Eater meeting tonight. Snape just reported." Harry stiffened. "Snape's still reporting. Says he wants to switch sides properly. Claims Dumbledore's been forcing his continued spying through magical oaths. Can we trust him? About as far as I could throw him without magic." Moody bared his teeth. But he passed Veritaserum questioning about his current intentions. "Still hates your guts, but hates Voldemort more after learning the full prophecy." Harry considered this. "What's the Death Eater intelligence?" "Voldemort's planning to attack the Ministry tomorrow. Thinks the chaos from Dumbledore's removal creates an opportunity." "He's right," Harry admitted. "The Ministry's in disarray. Half the Wizengamot is demanding emergency sessions, Aurors don't know who to report to with Dumbledore gone from the ICW. So what's the play, Potter?" Harry thought for a moment. "We need to set a trap. Let the attack happen, but be ready for it. Risky. So is letting Voldemort choose the next battleground." Harry turned toward the manor. "Let's get everyone together. We've got a counterattack to plan." The Ministry atrium gleamed with its usual polished splendor, workers streaming through the flurs for the morning shift. Nothing appeared unusual, exactly as planned. Harry stood disguised as a minor Ministry functionary, Polyjuice having transformed him into a nondescript wizard with brown hair and forgettable features. Nearby, similarly disguised, stood Ron, Hermione, Neville, and 20 other fighters from their newly formed coalition. "Remember," Harry murmured into the enchanted communicator pin on his robes, "non-lethal takedowns where possible, but don't hesitate if it's you or them." "Death Eaters don't deserve mercy," came Moody's gruff reply from his position near the security desk. "This isn't about what they deserve," Harry countered. "It's about who we are." According to Snape's intelligence, the attack would come at precisely 9:30 a.m., when the minister's morning briefing brought key officials together. The Death Eaters would arrive through the visitors' entrance and disabled flurs, circumventing normal security. 9:25 a.m. Harry caught Kingsley's eye across the atrium. The Auror gave an imperceptible nod, his team was in position. 9:28 a.m. The security wizard at the desk suddenly slumped over, imperious curse, most likely. 9:30 a.m. The visitors' entrance descended, and black-robed figures poured out, masks gleaming. "Now!" Harry shouted. The defenseless Ministry workers transformed instantly into combat-ready fighters. Shield charms snapped into place as Harry's forces revealed themselves. The Death Eaters faltered momentarily at the unexpected resistance, but recovered quickly. Killing curses flew, smashing into hastily conjured marble barriers that Hermione and Flitwick had prepared. "They're heading for the elevators," Ron shouted through the communicator. "Team 2, intercept." Harry commanded, ducking a curse and returning fire with a blasting hex. The battle split into multiple fronts. Near the security desk, Moody dueled 3 Death Eaters simultaneously, his wooden leg not hindering his lethal efficiency. By the fountain, Tonks and Kingsley held a defensive line, preventing Death Eaters from reaching the departmental access. Harry worked his way toward the central elevator bank where the heaviest fighting concentrated. A silver-masked Death Eater, Lucius Malfoy, Harry guessed from the long blonde hair, directed others with imperious gestures. "Potter is here somewhere," Malfoy commanded. "Find him." Harry smiled grimly. The polyjuice was working. He stunned a Death Eater from behind, bound another with conjured ropes, and pressed forward. A scream cut through the chaos. "Hermione." Harry spun to see her pinned down behind a crumbling barrier, Bellatrix Lestrange advancing with maniacal glee. "Little mudblood all alone." Bellatrix cackled. "Crucio." Hermione rolled sideways, the torture curse missing by inches. Harry changed direction instantly. "Bombarda," he shouted, blasting the floor between Bellatrix and Hermione. The explosion threw Bellatrix off balance. She whirled, eyes wild behind her mask. "Who dares?" "Someone who knows what's in your vault," Harry taunted, deliberately using his normal voice despite his disguised appearance. Bellatrix froze. "Potter?" "The cup is gone," Harry continued, circling to draw her away from Hermione. "Destroyed. Just like the diary." The effect was electrifying. Bellatrix's face contorted with terror. "No. You lie. Your master will be most displeased." With a shriek of rage, Bellatrix launched a barrage of curses. Harry ducked, rolled, and shielded, leading her away from the main battle. "Harry, what are you doing?" Hermione's voice hissed through the communicator. Creating a diversion, he replied, dodging another curse. "Team 3, status." Minister and department head secured in panic room, came Augusta Longbottom's surprisingly steady voice. Proceeding to Phase 2. Phase 2 involved sealing the ministry exits once they confirmed no more Death Eaters were arriving. The anti-apparition wards had been strengthened overnight, leaving the invaders no escape route. "They're retreating," Ron reported. "Heading back to the entrance." "Seal it now," Harry ordered, still engaged with Bellatrix. Bellatrix seemed to realize she was being corralled. "The Dark Lord will flay you alive for your lies, Potter." She fired a killing curse that Harry barely avoided. "Not lies, Bellatrix. The Horcruxes are being destroyed one by one. Soon he'll be mortal again." The witch's face transformed from rage to pure panic. "No. No. He is immortal. Eternal. Not anymore." A new voice entered the fray. Neville Longbottom stepped forward, wand trained on Bellatrix. His round face showed no fear, only cold determination. "Remember me, Lestrange. You should. You created me the night you tortured my parents." Bellatrix's eyes widened with recognition, then narrowed cruelly. "Baby Longbottom. Come to join Mummy and Daddy in the loony bin." "Expelliarmus!" Neville shouted, catching Bellatrix off guard. Her wand flew from her fingers. Harry moved to capture her, but Neville raised a hand. "She's mine." "Wandless, helpless, just like my parents were," Neville said, advancing on the now backing up Bellatrix. "Do you know what the healers told Gran? That if they'd received treatment sooner, they might have recovered." "Neville." Harry cautioned. "I won't torture her," Neville replied, correctly interpreting Harry's concern. "That would make me like her." He stunned Bellatrix with a spell powerful enough to slam her against the wall before binding her unconscious form. "But I will make sure she never hurts another family." Throughout the atrium, the battle was ending. Death Eaters found themselves outmatched and trapped, their expected easy victory turned into a devastating defeat. 16 captured, Kingsley reported, nursing a gash on his arm. For dead, their own killing curses reflected back at them. 3 escaped somehow. Harry's polyjuice wore off as he surveyed the aftermath. Casualties on our side. Minor injuries mostly. Johnson from Magical Maintenance took a bad cutting curse. She's at St. Mungo's but expected to recover. Minister Fudge emerged from his protective bunker, immediately putting on a political face for the arriving press. A tremendous victory. The ministry's strategic response has delivered a crippling blow to you-know-whose forces. Harry caught Amelia's eye across the room. She gave him a small nod. Let Fudge have his moment. The real victory was operational, not political. We've captured several of his inner circle, Harry said quietly to his core team as they regrouped. Including Bellatrix Lestrange. Lucius Malfoy escaped, Ron reported grimly. Saw him disappear during the worst fighting. Must have had an emergency portkey. He'll lead us to Voldemort eventually, Harry replied. Right now, we need to focus on the remaining Horcruxes. The news of the failed ministry attack dominated the Evening Prophet. Rita Skeeter's promised exclusive with Harry appeared as a special supplement, carefully navigating around the Horcrux details while emphasizing Harry's new leadership role. Potter takes charge. The boy Who becomes the man Who leads. In an exclusive interview, Lord Potterblack discusses his vision for combating you-know-who following Dumbledore's shocking fall from grace. Back at Potter Manor, the mood was celebratory but focused. The successful defense had boosted morale enormously. In the Great Hall, transformed into a strategic command center, Harry stood before a massive enchanted map of Britain. Voldemort will be regrouping, he explained to the assembled coalition. Today's defeat cost him nearly a third of his marked followers. But he still has the giants, Dementors, and werewolves Dumbledore mentioned in his testimony. And his snake, Hermione added. The Horcrux we know the location of. Which brings us to our priorities. Harry pointed to the map. First, the remaining Horcruxes. Ravenclaw's item and the locket. Second, developing a coordinated defense network. Third, building international support now that Dumbledore's no longer controlling those channels. The planning session lasted hours, with different specialists contributing expertise. Bill Weasley and Flitwick worked on ward strategies for key locations. Moody and Kingsley developed Auror training protocols. Hermione headed research on Ravenclaw's possible Horcrux. Later, Harry found himself in the Manor's war room with his closest friends. We need to address the biggest issue, Hermione said quietly. The Horcrux in your scar. Harry nodded. The goblin ritual is in 5 days. Ragnarok's preparing whatever they need. And if it doesn't work? Ron asked, voicing what everyone feared. Then we keep looking for alternatives. Dumbledore wasn't omniscient, whatever he believed. Harry's voice remained firm. There's another way. There has to be. I've been researching soul magic, Hermione admitted. It's mostly restricted, but as Lady Ravenclaw's heir, Luna got us access to some ancient texts from Hogwarts. Luna is Ravenclaw's heir? Harry asked, surprised. Hermione nodded. Through her mother's line. Not widely known. But it means she can access the Ravenclaw family grimoires, which have extensive material on soul magic. Any leads on the Horcrux? Neville asked. The lost diadem, Luna replied dreamily, entering the room with several ancient-looking scrolls. Mother believed it was hidden at Hogwarts itself. Hogwarts? Ron looked skeptical. Wouldn't someone have found it? The castle has many secrets, Luna replied. Places even the headmaster doesn't know about. Harry straightened suddenly. A place where things are hidden. He murmured. The Room of Requirement. When we needed a place to hide the Half-Blood Prince's potions book, it turned into a massive storage room filled with centuries of hidden objects. That's brilliant, Harry. Hermione exclaimed. If Voldemort discovered the room during his time at Hogwarts, he would have thought himself the only one clever enough to find it, Harry finished. The perfect hiding place. We need to get to Hogwarts, Ron said. Not all of us, Harry decided. Small team, in and out. McGonagall can grant us access. What about the locket Horcrux? Neville asked. Creature. Harry called. The aged house elf appeared with a crack, looking marginally cleaner than Harry remembered but no less surly. Master calls creature. I need to ask about a locket, a heavy gold locket that no one could open. From when we were cleaning Grimmauld Place. Creature went rigid. Master knows about the locket. I know it belonged to Voldemort. I know it needs to be destroyed. The change in creature was astonishing. He fell to his knees. Master will destroy the locket. Master will finish Master Regulus's final order. Regulus? Harry repeated, confused. Sirius's brother. What did he have to do with the locket? Creature's tale poured out in halting, emotional bursts. How Voldemort had borrowed him to test the locket's hiding place. How Regulus had discovered the truth and sacrificed himself to retrieve the Horcrux, ordering creature to destroy it. How the elf had tried for years but failed to damage the cursed object. And the locket now? Harry asked gently when creature finished. Mundungus Fletcher stole it, creature spat. Thieving, filthy, we'll find it, Harry promised. I vow on my magic to complete Regulus's mission. A golden glow briefly surrounded them both, Wizard's Oath magic responding to Harry's sincere promise. Creature's attitude transformed entirely. He bowed low. Master is good and noble. Creature will help Master destroy the Dark Lord's evil. Find Fletcher, Harry ordered. Bring him to me, alive and unharmed, but bring him. After creature disappeared, Hermione looked thoughtful. We should catalogue what we know about each Horcrux. It might reveal a pattern to help us locate the remaining ones. On a large piece of parchment, she created a list: diary, Tom Riddle's school diary, destroyed by Harry, basilisk venom, ring, Gaunt family ring, destroyed by Dumbledore, unknown method, cup, Hufflepuff's cup, recovered from Lestrange vault, awaiting destruction, locket, Slytherin's locket, location, stolen by Mundungus Fletcher, unknown Ravenclaw item, possibly the lost diadem, suspected at Hogwarts Nagini. Snake, always with Voldemort. Harry's scar, treatment pending. 6. Deliberate Horcruxes, Harry noted. 7 parts of his soul in total, counting his main piece. 7's the most magically powerful number, Neville commented. My gran always says that. Which means destroying them might weaken him beyond just making him mortal, Luna suggested. Magical resonance works both ways. Their planning was interrupted by an urgent message from the entrance hall. Snape had arrived, bloody and barely conscious. Harry found the potion's master being treated by Madame Pomfrey in the Manor's infirmary. What happened? He demanded. The Dark Lord, Snape gasped, knows about the Horcruxes. Someone told him about Dumbledore's testimony. Malfoy, Ron guessed. No. Dumbledore himself. Stunned silence followed this revelation. Why would Dumbledore tell Voldemort we know about the Horcruxes? Hermione asked. To accelerate the timeline, Snape replied, wincing as Pomfrey applied healing potions to a deep gash. He still believes Potter must die. By exposing the Horcrux knowledge, he forces the Dark Lord to summon Potter sooner, before alternative solutions might be found. Harry felt cold fury rising. He's still manipulating events from wherever they're keeping him. Where is Dumbledore being held? Hermione asked. Secure ministry facility, Kingsley supplied, entering the infirmary. Limited visitors. But apparently not limited enough. How did Voldemort react? Harry asked Snape. As expected. Rage. Punishment for all present. Snape gestured to his injuries. Then strategic reassessment. He's moving the snake to a new location. And he's accelerating his plans. Which are? Taking Hogwarts. He believes one Horcrux remains hidden there and wants to secure it. Harry and Hermione exchanged alarmed looks. The diadem. We need to get to it first, Ron said. And we need to prepare Hogwarts for siege, Kingsley added. Term starts in 3 weeks. We can't let him take the school. Harry nodded grimly. Hogwarts first. We get the diadem, then fortify the castle. The room of requirement transformed exactly as Harry remembered, a cathedral-sized space filled with centuries of hidden objects. Mountains of broken furniture, banned books, forbidden items, and discarded contraband stretched in every direction. This is impossible, Ron groaned. We'll never find one small diadem in all this junk. Luna closed her eyes, extending her hand. I can feel it. Ravenclaw's magic calls to her descendants. Really? Hermione looked skeptical. Blood magic, McGonagall explained. The founders built such connections into their artifacts. Luna began walking purposefully through the maze-like paths. The others followed, wands ready. Harry couldn't shake the feeling they were being watched. There, Luna said finally, pointing to a tarnished tiara perched atop a chipped bust. That's the lost diadem. Harry approached cautiously. The diadem emanated the same dark presence he'd felt from the diary and the cup. That's it. That's the Horcrux. How do we destroy it? Neville asked. We don't have basilisk venom or whatever Dumbledore used. We contain it for now, Hermione said, producing a lead-lined box similar to the one the goblins had used for the cup. Until we find a destruction method. As Harry carefully levitated the diadem toward the box, movement caught his eye. A disillusionment charm faded, revealing Draco Malfoy, wand raised. Stop right there, Potter. Malfoy? What are you doing here? Securing the diadem for the Dark Lord. Despite his bravado, Draco looked terrible, pale, gaunt, with dark circles under his eyes. He'll kill my parents if I fail. There are 6 others, Draco, Harry said calmly. Even if you take this one, we'll destroy the rest. And then Voldemort will die anyway, along with anyone still serving him. Uncertainty flickered across Malfoy's face. You're lying. He's not, Hermione said. We've already secured 2 others. The cup from your aunt's vault. The ring Dumbledore destroyed. My father says you're bluffing. Your father is desperate to regain favor after failing at the ministry, Harry replied. He's sacrificing you to save himself. Malfoy's wand hand trembled. I don't have a choice. You always have a choice, Luna said softly. My father chose to print the truth about Harry last year. Your father chose to serve a madman. Switch sides, Malfoy, Harry offered. We can protect your mother. And send my father to Azkaban. He's already earned that by his own actions. Multiple times. Draco's internal struggle played across his face. Finally, his wand lowered slightly. What would I have to do? Take Veritaserum questioning. Share what you know about Voldemort's plans. Then we negotiate protection for your mother. And me? Depends what you've done already, Harry said honestly. But you haven't killed anyone yet, have you? Malfoy shook his head. Then there's a path forward. The standoff ended anticlimactically. Draco surrendered his wand, the diadem was secured, and they escorted both back to Potter Manor. Both the diadem and cup are secured in the ritual chamber, Bill reported. The goblins will bring specialized equipment for destruction during Harry's procedure. 2 days, Harry said, looking at the calendar. 2 days until the dark moon. The wait was agonizing. Harry threw himself into planning, training, and coordination, anything to avoid dwelling on the soul fragment embedded in his forehead. Creature returned triumphantly with a squirming, protesting Mundungus Fletcher. I didn't know it was important, the thief whined as Harry confronted him. Just looked valuable. Where is it now? Harry demanded. Sold it. Pink-toed-looking lady at the ministry. Paid good gold. Umbridge, Harry, and Hermione said simultaneously. Recovering the locket from Umbridge required a carefully orchestrated ministry operation involving Kingsley, Arthur Weasley, and some creative use of Weasley's Wizard Wheezes products as a distraction. By evening, the locket joined the cup and diadem in the ritual chamber. For down, Ron noted. Just the snake and, well, you know. Harry nodded grimly. My appointment with the goblins. The goblin ritual chamber deep beneath Gringotts resembled nothing Harry had seen before. Crystalline formations jutted from walls inscribed with ancient runes. A raised stone platform dominated the center, surrounded by a circle of goblin runemasters. The procedure has 3 phases, Ragnarok explained. First, containment, isolating the foreign soul fragment. Second, extraction, separating it from your core. Third, transference, moving it to another vessel for destruction. Has this been done before? Hermione asked. She, Ron, and Bill had been allowed to accompany Harry as observers. Twice in goblin history. Once successfully. Ragnarok's expression remained neutral. And the unsuccessful attempt? Harry asked. The host did not survive separation. The fragment had integrated too deeply. Harry swallowed hard. And in my case? Unknown. The fragment has resided within you since infancy, longer than any documented case. However, your mother's protection magic may have kept it partially isolated. I'll take those odds, Harry decided. Better than Dumbledore's guaranteed death sentence. Very well. Disrobe and lie on the platform. The procedure begins at midnight. As Harry positioned himself on the cold stone, goblin healers applied rune-inscribed paste to his scar and major magical conduits throughout his body. We will destroy the Horcruxes you provided simultaneously, Ragnarok explained. The combined ritual enhances our power against soul magic. Ron approached the platform, looking uncharacteristically serious. You better survive this, mate. Who else is going to keep Hermione from making us study all day? Harry smiled. Take care of each other if this goes wrong. It won't, Hermione said firmly, though her eyes glistened. We've faced worse odds before. Ritual commences in 1 minute, announced a goblin timekeeper. Harry closed his eyes. Images flashed through his mind, his parents in the mirror of Eriste, Sirius falling through the veil, Dumbledore's cold admission under Veritaserum. Then newer memories, the looks on people's faces as they rallied to his coalition, Neville standing up to Bellatrix, Luna confidently leading them to the diadem. Begin, Ragnarok commanded. Pain unlike anything Harry had experienced seared through his scar. Worse than cruciatus, the agony of his very soul being pulled apart drove coherent thought from his mind. He was vaguely aware of screaming, of goblin chanting, of magical energy crackling around him. Through blurry vision, he saw the 3 Horcruxes they'd brought levitating above stone pedestals. Black smoke poured from each as goblin magic systematically destroyed the soul fragments within. The pain intensified. Harry felt something tearing inside him, not physical, but more fundamental. The fragment in his scar fought its extraction with savage determination. It resists, a goblin healer reported. The human vessel weakens. Increase containment, Ragnarok ordered. Proceed to phase 3. More chanting, more pain. Harry's consciousness began to fade, darkness creeping in from the edges. Then, unexpectedly, he found himself in a familiar place, King's Cross Station, eerily empty and white. Before him stood a figure he recognized instantly. Mum. Lily Potter smiled sadly. My brave boy. Fighting to the very end. Am I dying? That depends on you. She gestured to a nearby bench where a small, flayed creature whimpered pathetically. That's what's being removed. Part of Voldemort's soul. If it's being removed, why am I here? Because you're at a crossroads. She touched his cheek gently. The fragment has been part of you so long, its removal leaves a void. You must choose to fill that void with your own essence, your own magic, or let go. Let go. You mean die. Move on, she corrected. It would be peaceful. You would be with me, with your father, with Sirius. The temptation hit Harry harder than he expected. Peace. Family. No more fighting, no more responsibility. What about my friends? The people counting on me? They would mourn, but continue. The prophecy never truly controlled your fate, Harry. Just as Dumbledore never truly controlled your life, though he tried. Harry looked at the pathetic fragment of Voldemort's soul. If I choose to go back, will the ritual succeed? The goblins have done their part. The rest depends on your will to live, to reclaim the space this parasite has occupied. Harry thought of Ron and Hermione watching anxiously by the ritual platform. Of Neville finding his courage. Of all the people who had rallied to him not because of prophecy, but because they believed in him. I'm going back. Lily smiled proudly. I knew you would. Your father and I are so proud of the man you've become, not the weapon Dumbledore tried to forge, but the leader you've chosen to be. Will I remember this? Perhaps. The boundary between life and death is not meant to be clear. She embraced him. We love you, Harry. Always. The White King's cross dissolved. Pain returned, but different now, cleaner, like disinfectant on a wound rather than the wound itself. Harry felt something cold and dark pulling away from his mind, his magic, his very being. With tremendous effort, he pushed his own essence into the void it left. The fragment separates, a goblin announced excitedly. Containment holding. Transfer phase commencing, another reported. Harry forced his eyes open. Above him, a writhing black mass, similar to the smoke from the other Horcruxes but larger, more substantial, struggled against golden chains of goblin magic. Gradually, the chains pulled it toward a waiting receptacle, a simple stone box inscribed with runes. Fight it, Potter, Ragnarok urged. Reclaim your magic. With one final, tremendous effort, Harry mentally pushed against the fragment. The black mass tore free completely, wailing with an inhuman voice as it was dragged into the stone container. The box sealed itself with a flash of light. Simultaneously, the other three Horcruxes gave one final shriek and disintegrated into ash. Harry collapsed back onto the platform, exhausted beyond measure but feeling lighter than he could ever remember. His thoughts seemed clearer, his magic more responsive, as if a constant background interference had finally ceased. Harry. Hermione rushed to his side. Are you okay? He managed a weak smile. Better than okay. It's gone. Really gone. The goblins confirmed his assessment. Detailed magical scans showed no trace of the foreign soul fragment. Harry's scar, while still visible, had faded to a thin, silver line, more like an old wound than the angry red mark it had been. 5 down, he told his friends as they helped him sit up. Just the snake left. News of Harry's successful Horcrux removal, though not the specifics of what had been removed, spread quickly through their coalition. Combined with the destruction of 3 more Horcruxes, morale soared. Only Nagini remained between Voldemort and mortality. But Voldemort wasn't waiting idly. Reports indicated he was gathering forces for a major assault. The target remained unclear until Draco Malfoy, now cooperating in exchange for his mother's protection, provided crucial intelligence. He's planning to attack Hogwarts 3 days before term starts, Draco explained during a strategy session. He wants to control the school before students arrive, using them as hostages to force Ministry surrender. 3 days, Harry mused. That's not much time to prepare. We've been fortifying Hogwarts for weeks, McGonagall reminded him. The staff has activated ancient defenses not used in centuries. What about evacuation routes? Hermione asked. If he attacks before term, the students will be safe, but what about Hogsmeade? The surrounding areas? The room of requirement, Neville suggested. When we were hiding from the Carrows last year, it created a tunnel to the Hog's Head. We could use that for civilians. Plans formed rapidly. The coalition had grown substantially since its formation. International allies had arrived, a contingent of French Aurors, American Cursebreakers, even a small group of wizards from Victor Crumb's Bulgarian combat squad. Voldemort will expect us to defend from inside the castle, Harry noted, studying the tactical map. But that gives him control of the grounds, the forest. You're suggesting we meet him in the open? Kingsley looked concerned. That's high risk. Not entirely open, Harry clarified. We establish defensive positions here, here, and here. He indicated key tactical points around the castle. Force his forces to divide or funnel through choke points. What about the snake? Ron asked. It'll be with him, protected. That's my job, Harry said firmly. I'll lead the team that targets Nagini specifically. That puts you too close to you-know-who, Molly Weasley protested. I have to face him eventually, Harry replied. The prophecy may not control me, but it does indicate I'm the one who can defeat him. You don't have to face him alone, Hermione insisted. Harry smiled. I never planned to. The battle for Hogwarts began at dawn. Voldemort's forces emerged from the Forbidden Forest, Death Eaters, giants, hundreds of inferi, and packs of werewolves forced into service through Greyback's dominance. But instead of finding Hogwarts battened down and defensive, they encountered a coordinated resistance across the grounds. Defensive positions manned by coalition fighters engaged the Death Eaters immediately, preventing them from organizing. Harry, disillusioned and flying high above on his firebolt, directed the battle through the enchanted communication network Hermione had developed. Beside him flew Ron, Neville, and Charlie Weasley, the snake-hunting team. Voldemort staying back, Harry noted, spotting the dark figure commanding from the forest edge. Nagini's with him, inside some kind of magical shield. Protection for his last Horcrux, Ron said. He knows we're hunting them. We need to draw him out, Neville suggested. Get him angry enough to make a mistake. Harry thought for a moment. Okay, new plan. Charlie, you're our best flyer next to me. I need you to create a diversion, something big enough to split their forces. Dragons big enough? Charlie grinned. You brought dragons? Not exactly. But I brought the next best thing. Charlie pulled a shrunken crate from his pocket, restored it to full size, and released its contents, 6 miniature model dragons, enchanted to grow to half size but with all the fire-breathing capability of their real counterparts. Romanian battle constructs, he explained. Short-lived but effective. The dragon constructs dove toward the rear of Voldemort's forces, unleashing streams of fire. Chaos erupted as Death Eaters turned to confront the unexpected threat. Now for Phase 2, Harry decided. I need to get Voldemort's attention. How? Neville asked. Harry raised his wand to his throat. Sonorous. Tom Riddle. Your Horcruxes are gone. The diary, the ring, the cup, the locket, the diadem, all destroyed. His magically amplified voice carried across the battlefield. Fighting momentarily paused as all eyes turned toward the sky. Even the one you accidentally placed in me 16 years ago, gone. You're mortal, Tom. Just a man. Voldemort's enraged scream echoed across the grounds. The magical shield around him and Nagini flared with power as he strode forward. Potter. Come down and face me, if you're so confident. That's it, Harry murmured to his team. He's moving into the open. Formation Delta. They split apart, flying in different directions. Harry dove directly toward Voldemort, drawing his focus, while the others circled wide to approach from different angles. On the ground, the battle intensified. Voldemort's forces pushed toward the castle, but met layered defenses, enchanted statues from the castle, centaurs firing from the forest edge, even the giant squid hurling Death Eaters who ventured too close to the lake. Harry landed 30 yards from Voldemort, wand ready. "Hello, Tom. You're looking unwell." Voldemort's red eyes blazed with fury. Nagini slithered at his feet, still protected by a shimmering bubble of magic. "You think destroying my safeguards makes you my equal?" Voldemort hissed. "I, who have pushed magic further than any wizard in history. Actually, I think it makes you just another half-blood with daddy issues." Voldemort's wand slashed forward. Avada Kedavra. Harry sidestepped, returning fire with a barrage of spells designed not to kill but to distract. Above, he knew his team was moving into position. "You've lost, Tom. Your inner circle captured or killed. Your secret to immortality gone. The only question is whether you die fighting or surrender to face trial." "I cannot die." Voldemort roared, casting a spell that split the earth between them. "Everyone dies," Harry replied, conjuring a flock of birds to intercept Voldemort's next curse. "Even self-important Dark Lords with delusions of grandeur." The duel intensified. Harry had improved dramatically since their last encounter, his magic flowing more naturally since the Horcrux removal. Still, Voldemort's decades of dark magical experience gave him the edge in raw power. "Now!" Harry shouted as he saw Ron and Neville in position behind Voldemort. Multiple spells hit Voldemort's protective shield simultaneously, Ron from the left, Neville from the right, Charlie from above, and Harry from the front. The shield shattered under the combined assault. Nagini reared defensively, but Neville was fastest. Charging forward with a cry of defiance, he swung the sword of Gryffindor, summoned through his pure need in that moment, and severed the snake's head in one clean stroke. Black smoke erupted from the serpent's body. Voldemort's agonized scream tore through the battlefield as the last Horcrux was destroyed. "It's just you and me now, Tom," Harry said, advancing. "No more pieces of your soul hiding elsewhere. No more second chances." Voldemort's face contorted with rage and fear. "This changes nothing. I am still Lord Voldemort. You're still Tom Riddle, orphan from Wolves Orphanage, rejected by his father, desperate to prove himself special." The final duel was both spectacular and surprisingly brief. Voldemort, enraged beyond caution, launched killing curse after killing curse. Harry, focused and prepared, shielded, countered, and returned fire methodically. When the end came, it wasn't with a dramatic explosion or legendary spell. Voldemort, overextended after missing with another killing curse, left himself exposed for a fraction of a second. Harry's stunning spell hit him squarely in the chest. The most feared Dark Lord in a century fell backwards, unconscious but alive. Silence spread across the battlefield as combatants on both sides realized what had happened. Death Eaters began to flee or surrender. Coalition forces pressed their advantage, securing the grounds. Harry stood over Voldemort's stunned form, wand trained on his chest. He could end it now, one spell, one moment. "Harry?" Hermione approached cautiously. "Is it over?" "Almost," he replied, binding Voldemort with enchanted restraints. "He'll face trial. Justice. Not murder, however deserved." As they secured Voldemort for transport, Harry looked up at Hogwarts. The castle stood damaged but unbowed, just as it had for 1,000 years. Students would still arrive in 3 days, though they'd find a school forever changed by today's events. "What now?" Ron asked, joining them. Harry smiled tiredly. "Now we rebuild. Not just Hogwarts, everything." 2 months later, Harry stood in the newly restored Great Hall at Hogwarts. Students filled the tables, buzzing with excitement for the Halloween feast. At the staff table, McGonagall presided as headmistress, flanked by both familiar and new faces. So much had changed. Voldemort's trial had been swift and conclusive, ending with the Dementor's kiss administered under international magical oversight. Death Eaters faced justice through fair trials, some imprisoned, others sentenced to magical restriction and reparations. The ministry itself had undergone radical reformation. Kingsley Shacklebolt now served as minister, with Amelia Bones as his deputy. The Wisingamat had been restructured to include representatives from previously marginalized groups, including, controversially but importantly, a goblin liaison. Dumbledore remained under house arrest at a ministry facility, stripped of his positions and honors. His testimony at Voldemort's trial had been damning, not of Voldemort, but of himself, as he continued to insist Harry's sacrifice had been the only viable solution. Harry had visited him once. The old wizard seemed diminished, yet still convinced of his rightness. "You were fortunate the goblin ritual worked," Dumbledore had told him. "But the prophecy was fulfilled when I defeated him," Harry had interrupted. "Neither can live while the other survives. He no longer survives. I still live." Prophecy satisfied. Now, watching the students enjoy their feast, Harry felt a profound sense of accomplishment. Not just for defeating Voldemort, but for what came after. Hogwarts had implemented sweeping reforms, house unity initiatives, expanded curriculum including Muggle subjects, and mandatory wizarding culture classes for Muggle-born students to ease their transition. "Canute, for your thoughts?" Hermione asked, joining him by the entrance. Harry smiled. "Just thinking about how far we've come. And how far we still need to go." "The Muggle Magical Integration Committee meets tomorrow," she reminded him. "The Prime Minister seems receptive to the gradual approach." "One step at a time," Harry agreed. "Revolution happens through evolution." Ron appeared with Luna and Neville. "Ready to go?" "The Foundation Board is waiting." The Potter Foundation, funded with the substantial Potterblack fortune and dedicated to magical education, creature rights, and post-war reconstruction, had become Harry's primary focus. He declined all ministry positions, preferring to drive change from outside the system. "Just one more thing," Harry said. He turned back to the Great Hall, drinking in the sight of students laughing, learning, living without fear. This, not prophecies or power or politics, was what they had fought for. "Okay," he said finally. "Now I'm ready." They walked together through Hogwarts' ancient hallways, 5 friends who had changed the wizarding world not through destiny, but through choice. Behind them, the castle stood as it always had, but ahead lay a future none of their predecessors could have imagined, one they would build together, one day at a time. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.